Surfing has become a way of life for millions of people, and what turns a beachgoer into a surfer is the riding of waves. Once hooked, and it only takes one great ride, a healthy addiction results. The only problem is that good waves are not common. In fact, at the average surf beach, great waves occur only about 10 times a year. This means that surfers are perpetually waiting for the right combination of swirl, wind, tide and bottom contours. The need is so great that surfers will not only drive for hours on weekends in search of better waves, but will also travel thousands of miles to find perfect surf. Due to this high demand for waves, many attempts have been made to control these random natural elements by making waves artificially in a large pool, but the results to date have been poor. Poor in wave size, quality, ride duration and wave frequency. The standard method involves the lifting and dropping of large volumes of water, as much as 500 cubic metres in some cases, in order to create each wave. Unfortunately, the cost of pumping such large volumes of water is so high that to create bigger waves, or longer rides, or higher frequencies of waves becomes prohibitive. As a result, many of these wave pools fail as businesses in their own right, because they end up providing an experience at high cost to users which is even less fulfilling than what can be found at the average surf beach. The waves in these old style pools are small and weak and short and only arrive every minute or so. My biggest focus at the moment is developing this wave pool.
I shape water into waves. I build wave machines.
Have you ever surfed in Canada?
Never, no.
Never surfed in Canada?
No.
Okay.
I once chased a girl there.
Yeah, well, I've met a few Canadian surfers and I just think their manner is interesting. There's something distinctly different about the way you guys are and think. It's quite obvious. It's, you know, the obvious comparison to the pile of states below you. But in general, I think you're a well-liked group of people. You're all right, Canadians, you'll find. You make great documentaries, actually.
Yeah, I mean, every Canadian I've ever met, they're a lot like Australians, I find. You know, even when I was over there, we go party and stuff, I was always hanging out with Canadians, and they actually do get on, Canadians get on really well with Australians, and I think it's like a sister or a brother country to us.
I guess the original inspiration goes back to when I was really young and making tiny little waves as a kid in a sandbank, on a sandbank at Rose Bay, and then altering and smoothing those sandbanks to watch the effect. And one of the key things I remembered seeing was that I made a little island that was too high, it was above the water level. So I was looking at it, you know, in miniature, but imagining it at full scale, and watching these boat or wind waves, I can't remember what it was that day, that were just, you know, in that bay just the way it happens. You know, I didn't organise some boat to go by at the age of 10. It was just I was watching, just as you do. And so I made this island that was above the level and watched how the wave sculpted it to this perfect level of balance. And eventually, you know, over a period of, you know, half an hour, it smoothed it off and then it disappeared. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you can find the design of what that perfect state was, you know, somehow. I mean, I guess if I could have taken a little cross-section of it somehow or visually photographed it, but I remember by touching the whole surface going, wow, that's the perfect level. So I was making them, but sometimes I'd make this thing that was too big and watch it get smoothened off and then recognise that one point. So these things happening to a 10 or 11-year-old brain had a big influence on the way I looked at waves. And then I just thought one day, I'm going to go and film it. So I got the camera and I thought this is going to be a bit hard because we really got to stall the boat at the right angle, have the perfect alignment with shore to get these wakes to align with the perfect gradient. Now it's pretty doable. I've been doing it on and off for 2 years. So I thought I'll just film at the same time and just point the camera. But guess what happens as I turn out of my street, my brother Monty, who's a filmmaker, turns out of the next street. And I hadn't planned on, you know, making a film for any reason. I just wanted to record it and see what they look like slowed down, because the wave shape was so dynamic and so throwy and tubing and amazing looking. It's fun to do it, but there's also stuff I'm watching to try and see the dynamics of it, just to make sure we get that first pool absolutely perfect. But the method of making the wave via hull system in relation to the shoreline, which is that circular island, I just merged those two things together, patented it, and then yeah, and here we are today.
Well, when I was in high school, I shaped surfboards, and I was going to be in the industry somehow, and then I just started seeing new ways to making waves for surfing because there weren't any waves for surfing. By the time I was in my 20s, I was getting my first patents.
So having an artistic background with both parents being sculptors, plus a bit of an analytical side as well, I've always been involved in the form and shape of things, especially to do with water and surfaces. So the original idea was just to make the waves. And there's photos I have of probably at the age of about 12 in 1972, making really perfect little tubing waves and making a sandbank so that they'd break even more perfectly. And so the main idea was just to make the wave. But in doing so, I found it was fun to recreate the bottom contours so that it would then make the wave the way I wanted to make it. 40 plus years of being interested in it just for the sake of doing it.
I really believe in wave pools. I hear of Kelly Slater and those guys making these wave pools. It's for one reason. They want to really see who the best surfer in the world is. And to me, a wave pool is a great idea, especially if you get them big and make them any size you want. The same waves coming through at the same time would be amazing to watch and surf.
Contradiction in a way with synthetic artificial waves is that there's an absence of nature, and I'm keenly aware of that, and I'm not going to even try to pretend that it will have any of those aspects. But luckily with surfing, the thing that we search will probably beyond the environment that we surf within is the tube and the perfect wave itself. And proof of that is that people will surf at a crappy beach break in an urban environment where there's virtually no nature other than the sand that you walk from. And even less nature than that when you surf in harbours and breakwalls. It's a totally human environment or man-made environment, yet the wave will be the draw. That's the thing that we want, so that we can perform and turn and express ourselves and get that release that surfing provides.
To learn to surf is one thing, which is great no matter where you learn to surf. But being the elements of the ocean, I wouldn't say a wave pool's better than the one in Japan. They had a roof that come over in the night time and had all moons and stars, and then crocodiles would come out of the thing, and all this amazing stuff going on. But you're still in the pool, or then they would, and then or they'd open the roof up and it was like, the sun beaming in, or they could make it black, and they could do all this stuff, but you're still in the pool. But really, to learn surfing anywhere, if you can learn to surf in a wave pool, you can surf in an ocean, It's not like you would be a worse surfer in the end. It'd just take you a little bit longer to get used to moving waves at a different speed.
I had guys, a lot of the wave development going on too is the people don't understand. You see some of these wave pool models, the barrel's just coming out right away, the guys can barely get on it. I mean, what are you gonna have, a red light that says, okay, the machine's shooting and a wave pop up? You cannot take the surfing out of surfing. You can't take the paddling out of it. You can't take the duck diving out of it, the paddling back out of it. I had guys say, oh, you're gonna catch a ride and you're gonna get out and stand in line. I said, okay, really? Where? In Arizona, in the desert? I said, okay, you three guys stand right here on the sidewalk in the summer with 3 surfboards for however long in line, and let's see how happy you are, right?
We live fairly stressful lives in cities all over the world. The vast majority of people in the developed world are probably not that happy. Without saying that everyone's depressed, stress level is moderate in the vast majority of people, and there's not a whole lot of fulfillment and not a lot of nature. So even though we can't create a national park infused into a city, which would be lovely, which is a nice alternative, something probably less passive but more active and actually more fulfilling on the short term would be a half an hour of perfect waves wherever one of these pools can be built. And that, I think, is going to provide the release which will offset some of the stress and tension that's inherent in living in cities.
Yeah, if a wave park was built in British Columbia, Canada and stuff, I'd love to come there and teach people how